but some of it it's sort of like the light bulb went off for me, and it's like, you know, I don't want to get stuck in a world of like always having to change my circumstances to make them better. You know what I mean?
So then what?
It's certainly not at the expense of my current circumstances.
Yeah, well,
right?
no,
like,
yeah.
What's going
I wouldn't
on
say
now?
at the expense of your current circumstances, but do you never felt like in a business aspect of like, all right, I've hit 10 million now. Next year, I want to do 15, 20 million.
Never.
Yeah, I mean, I applaud that. I wish I was more that way.
It's so weird, and people, I know it's strange, and people always like, even we hit 1 billion, and it's such a big deal, and I mean, it's like we did 990 one year, like that was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's and not to like, I don't want to fail to acknowledge it. It's a ton of work, and like all those BIC calls. I mean, it's so much work, and there's so much packed into it.
Yeah,
I'm not the like color by numbers guy. I'm not looking at it like, oh, okay, well now I want to do blah blah blah. Like I'm head down.
You're not a goal setter kind of thing.
I don't do big outside in goals. Yeah, I never have, and I know it's weird, and people freak out about it. But
no, I mean, I think how I kind of view this is like a diet that works for you might be a diet that doesn't work for me. Totally. You can't just
diet and exercise. Is a
you
great
can't just
example.
Read one book and be like, oh, I'm going to apply that to my life and it's going to work. You got to find out what works for you, and that's kind of.
And the other key thing about that analogy is that knowing it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it's like who doesn't know that diet and exercise are like how you sleep better and lose weight. And like
you know the answer to the test, but it's
you have to be
the
that.
habit and the
to
ritual
do
of
those
it.
things, right?
Exactly.
So that to me is way more important. That's what I'm consumed by is thinking about, how do we be better? How do we,
so then,
and I've got, I guess, goals in that regard, but those are so abstract. It's not like,
I'm finding and I'm learning, and like, if I'm doing goals, it's more of the practice of writing down on paper to kind of reaffirm, oh yeah, I got to focus on that. It's not so much because I want something like I want to be a better father, and I just feel like it's one thing to think it, but it's one thing to kind of take it down to pen to paper. There's something like evolutionary about it that almost makes me think about it a little more through the day. Yeah.
Have you heard? I'm just changing the subject. But did you ever hear about? Gosh, I should look up the author, but Affirmations.
I know of Affirmations. I didn't know it was a book.
Not Affirmations like the classic, but Affirmations.
Okay.
So basically, it's this guy. He sort of coined this word. Who basically what he's saying is if you take the normal affirmation, like, and I love that I'm just not ripping this guy off in your podcast.
That's
you take the normal affirmation, which is like I, whatever, I make a lot of money, or I'm so successful, or like abundance comes to me, or pick one.
Yeah.
Immediately, what happens is, like, scientifically, what happens is your brain starts playing all of the feedback loops that are counter to that.
Absolutely.
Now, both happen. So you do both. You look for evidence of your whatever, your abundance or your wealth, but you also immediately play your story about how you're an idiot and like it really is all your fault, and like you really don't know what you're doing, and like everything is going to come crashing down on you, and like you know what I mean, like that same trigger starts both of those paths. So now you've got this subconscious like loop going on where it's like, how is it so hard for me to make money? And and what he suggests is, and this is where he coins this sort of, affirmation, is frame it like a question.
Yeah.
So that you get your mind thinking about one target.
Yeah.
So he would say like, why is it so easy for me to make money?
Yeah.
And then he's like, immediately when you say that, your brain starts going into, well, I don't know. I mean, well, why is it? Well, you're real, like now it's all finding evidence for this very specific, press play on this thought.
Exactly.
That I think is really fun. It's like it's kind of cheeky and it's cool, but if you do it, you actually go through this like, oh yeah, you start looking for the 100%. Solution.
I've heard that before. I haven't applied it, but no, it's
little things. Yeah. I mean, it's like start with something really obvious, and then you'll start to get it. It's cool because and I think back to current circumstances, it's like you start getting way more present. Yeah. Right? Because you're now thinking about like, well, why am I such a good dad? Exactly. Well, I mean, look at this beautiful house. And it's and that stuff I think is often left out because it's like everyone's going somewhere. Exactly.